in a situation where you find that a look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
Well, let's take a look at what the papers are saying, and we'll start with Daily Trust newspaper. And the lead story here talks about workers groan as states cut salaries amid inflation. We have writers that say rationed wages put civil servants on edge. Teachers, LGs, or local government workers worst hit. Government blame dwindling FAC allocation, and details of that on page 5. And if you turn to page 5, you'd find, more stories on this particular story that talks about salaries rationed in Kogi State. Gombe local government workers lament non-payment of minimum wage, and Ondo owing 3 months' salaries. Right below that, you find a pictorial of the newly elected chairman, APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and the secretary, Senator Iyola Omisore, taking oath of office before President Muhammadu Buhari and other party leaders during the APC National Convention in Abuja. We also have a story at the top there that talks about Nyesom Wike saying, "I will run for 2023 presidency." Details of that on page 16. Nigeria accounts for 12% of stillbirths globally, and you can find more details on that story on page 4. If you come back to the bottom, you'd find Buhari defends choice of ex-PDP members in new APC ESCO on page 7. We also have panic as 7 killed in Ogun cultist clashes. Many flee as bandits launch fresh attacks on Niger, and revisit ban on dollar sale to BDCs. ABCON tells CBN. Details of that particular story on page 28. And these are some of the stories that made it to the front page of Daily Trust newspaper.
Well, and this day newspaper up next. The headline says, Buhari, our unity at convention signpost victory in 2023 polls. This was the president talking. This was the president talking at the venue of the inauguration of the new APC ESCOs. Then up there in the front page of the same newspaper says 10 banks wreck in 39.4 trillion deposits despite sustained incursion by fintechs. Below that, we have the story saying 2023 Southeast PDP backs Southern governors stance on zoning of presidency. Kaduna Airport attack, PDP Afenipere knock Buhari, raise the alarm. This is a story starting from the front page of this day newspaper and continuing on page 5. Below the picture of the new APC leaders being presented by President Muhammadu Buhari and the governor of Yobe State, who is the immediate past interim chairman of the party. You see another story on education saying universities in total shutdown as Susanu Nasu begin 2-week warning strike. These are the stories from this day newspaper this morning.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the Guardian newspaper. And we have the lead story here talking about Wike to run for president blames Atiku Saraki for PDP's 2015 defeat. We also have writers that says, I have capacity to remove APC. Southeast PDP backs Southern governor's stance on zoning of presidency to South. Autumn on Southern presidency, I stand. Party won't preempt zoning committee's recommendation, says spokesman. We also have, below the page here, crude theft killing Nigeria's oil businesses, operators lament. We also have PDP faults Buhari's anti-graft fight as Adamu takes oath of office. Details of that on page 3. And on the footnote there, we have BDCs seek return to mainstream forex business as Naira near 600 per dollar. Wow. We also have more stories at the top there. Harvard economist predicts Emefiele as next Obasanjo. If you want to know what that means, you can find details of that story on page 4. Sanu Nasu begin 2-week warning strike. Abaribe faults Abia PDP on zoning exclusion from 2023 Gubo race, and details of that on page 6. We also have 2 drug dealers excrete 165 wraps of cocaine in NDLEA custody. All right, and these are some of the stories that actually made it to the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And before we move on to the next newspaper, the pictorial here shows the Vice President Yemi Oshibajo flanked by some stakeholders of the APC, that's the All Progressive Congress's and NWC officers after their oath of office in Abuja.
Up next is the Punch newspaper, where the major stories is also about politics. It says, new National Working Committee, APC inaugurates appeal panel Tuesday. PDP says Adamu has fraud charges. On the riders there, say co-contestants await refunds. Senate to declare Adamu's seat vacant. Transform APC ahead of 2023 polls, Bajabia Miller tells new NWC. PDP mocks ruling party, says new chairman has corruption case. This is the major story for the Punch today. And up in the same newspaper, another story says state governments sink deeper as NMPC plans 328 billion deduction in April. There is a rider there that says January, February fuel subsidy payments hits 430 billion naira. Beside that is another story also on the economy saying FG's borrowing from CBN rises by 96.54%, hits 18.16 trillion. This story is on page 40 of today's The Punch newspaper. On the upper side of the paper is a story also on the economy, which says Nigerians spent $39.66 billion on foreign education, medical tourism, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Still on the Punch, Wike declares presidency bid, knocks Atiku, Saraki, others. Bread prices may go up. Bakers blame Forex energy crisis. Then another story just below that says Lassa fever death hit 123 persons. NCDC worries over rise. OAU protest interference in varsity autonomy, says ASU. Just like other papers, the Punch also reports on the two suspected drug dealers arrested by the NDLEA who, according to the newspaper, excrete 165 grams of cocaine. Just as Australia, China-bound drugs were seized. Airport invasion, stop pampering terrorists. OK State Police, Afenipere tells FG on page 9 of today's Punch newspaper. Just before we end the review of the Punch today, one last story here, which says AG raises 50 audit queries against NSITF, alleges 87 billion fraud. That is the Auditor General of the Federation has directed the audit of Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, where 87 billion naira fraud is alleged to have been committed.
All right, with that, we'll move on to Leadership newspaper. And we have the lead story there saying PMB absolves Adamu, says ex-PDP members in APC have repented. And we have writers that say new APC members still facing trial over 15 billion naira fraud, says PDP. I will be fair to all as national chairman, Adamu, says Adamu. And then we have Al-Makura say Al-Mustafa pledge support for new NWC. And then right at the top there, we have 2023 Southeast PDP backs Southern governors on zoning. Details of that on page 7. Beside that particular story, we have FG committed to a better Nigeria job creation, says Oshibajo. Wike declares for president in Makurdi. Details of that on page 6. Governors seek $15 billion investment in Dubai. And we also have a pictorial there of a Commander 16 Brigade, Nigerian Army, with soldiers of the brigade and overall winner of the 2022 Inter-Brigade Corporals and Below competition of 6th Division. At the top there, we have a story that says depreciation experts harp on fiscal discipline to stabilize Nigeria. And these are some of the stories that made it to the top of to the front page of Leadership newspaper.
Thank you very much, Usena. With that, details of more of such newspaper review will come later in the show. But now, as we said earlier in the show, the newly appointed or newly elected national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, is due to resume work today at the APC Secretariat. We have the speech from the new helmsman of the ruling party from his mouth as he speaks on what to expect from his leadership yesterday.
Of the All Progressive Congress, I will discharge my duties to the best of my ability, faithfully and in accordance with the Constitution of the All Progressives Congress and the law, and always in the interest of the sovereignty.
We need to renew our faith in our party and its leadership at all levels in order to herald a new dawn. We need to commit to the resolution of our crisis within the confines of our party constitution. We must resist the temptation to blow every minor personal disagreement into a major party crisis. It is time for us to do things differently. When we quarrel, we open our flanks to our rival political parties that are only too eager to exploit them for their own benefits. We promise you here and now that we shall heal any wounds in our party. We shall effect lasting reconciliations among our members, and we shall go into the next general election as a strong and united party. We offer our hands of friendship to all our members. I want to assure you that my colleagues and myself will run an open-door policy to all members of this great party. No administration in the history of Nigeria or anywhere in the world has performed as much as we have done within the subsequent time, given the enormity of the problems that we inherited from the misrule of the PDP for 16 good years.
All right, so that was the swearing-in ceremony of the new national chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, yesterday. Now, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we have more for you on Daybreak. Stay with us at the top of the hour.
coronavirus disease. COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19 or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
All right, good morning and welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television. It is still the 28th day in the month of March 2022 and it is 7 a.m. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman.
It is a beautiful morning indeed. Thank you for being with us. I am Abdulaziz Abdulaziz.
Our headlines at this hour: opposition MPs call for investigation of Kaduna airport attack.
Massive defection hits Kano PDP as Konkosia loyalists join NNPP.
New APC chair, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, set to resume office today.
More trouble for Nigerian students as non-academic staff union begin 2 weeks warning strike.
And don't forget, today on Daybreak, discussions on the just concluded APC convention will be discussed, and we'll also join Idris Jibrin in Kano to give us an update on the defection of Abba Yusuf to NPP from the PDP.
We'll also bring you my daily hustle on the show on how Nigerians are surviving on a daily basis in the face of a biting economy. Stay tuned with us and find out more on this segment.
And the new chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Abdullahi, will resume office today at the party secretariat here in Abuja. Senator Abdullahi Adamu emerged as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress about a year and 9 months after the Adams Oshomole-led National Working Committee was dissolved. He was returned unopposed on Saturday at the party's national convention held at the Eagle Square in Abuja, the nation's capital. Adamu, a serving member of the Senate representing Nasarawa West and former governor of the state, is President Muhammadu Buhari's choice for the job.
Candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, at the 2019 Kano governorship election, Abba Yusuf, popularly known as Abba Gida Gida, has defected to the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. Yusuf announcing his defection alongside his running mate Aminu Gwarzo and many other members of the Konkosia movement at a gathering on Sunday at Konkosia House, Liso Ward in Kano, said they discovered that the PDP is not different from the All Progressive Congress, APC, which they left in 2018. Meanwhile, reports say the move is believed to be part of the agenda towards the planned defection of the movement's leader, Rabiu Kwankwaso. According to reports, Kwankwaso is targeting March 30th for his defection to the newly resuscitated party in the States.
Well, moving on to more news, the Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives has called for investigation into the terrorist attacks on Kaduna International Airport, which led to the temporary shutdown of the airport. In a statement on Sunday signed by the minority leader Ndudi Elumelu said in a statement that the caucus expresses shock over the brazen invasion and attempted takeover of the airport by bandits on Saturday afternoon. The statement came hours after Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria confirmed the killing of one of its staff during the attack. It will be recalled that a group of bandits had attacked the runway of the airport but were repelled by security forces who engaged them in a shootout.
Nigerian students may have more days to stay at home as Joint Action Committee JAC of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SUSANU, and Non-Academic Staff Union of Allied and Educational Institutions, NASU, have joined other university-based unions to cripple both academic and administrative activities in Nigerian public universities. Arising from a meeting in Abuja, JAC, in a memo addressed to the leadership of the union's branches nationwide, directed them to ensure total compliance to the directive. The memo, signed by SUSANU President Mohammed Ibrahim and NASU General Secretary Peters Adeyemi, entitled Commencement of Two-Week Warning Strike, directed the branches of the two unions across the country to embark on a two-week warning strike from Monday. The union said they are ready to present to the federal government its preferred mode of payment, the University Peculiar Personnel Payroll System, U3PS, which they said will address all the challenges the unions are facing them in the areas of payment of their salaries.
All right, that's a wrap on our news headlines for this hour. We'll be back after this quick breather.
The election of Senator Abdullahi Adamu as the new national chairman of the All Progressives Congress is expected to resume later today with plenty on his decks to deal with. There were serious crises leading to the convention, many of them still unresolved. So who is Senator Abdullahi Adamu? Let's take a look at the profile of the new man in charge of the ruling party.
The new national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Adamu, born in Kefi, Nasarawa State on July 23, 1946, attended Abdul Zanga Primary School, Kefi, and completed it at the Laminga Senior Primary School in 1959. He moved to the government secondary school, Makudi, Benue State, between 1960 and 1962, and thereafter to the government technical college, Bukuru, Plateau State, from 1962 to 1965. Adamu obtained the ordinary national diploma in building and civil engineering from the Kaduna Polytechnic in 1968, and the higher national diploma from the same institution in 1971, and worked as a maintenance supervisor at the National Electric Power Authority before returning for his HND. When he left school, he worked with the Northern Nigeria Development Corporation (NDDC) in Kaduna before moving to the private sector, where he became a consultant area manager with AEK, a firm of consultants, and appointed as the executive secretary of the Jos-based Benue Plateau Construction Company (BEPCO). Adamu, popularly called The Bridge, began his political career in 1977 when he got elected a member of the Constituent Assembly, which drafted the 1979 Constitution at the beginning of the Second Republic. He became a founding member of the defunct National Party of Nigeria, formed from a political association, the National Movement. At the same time, his home state, Nasarawa, became part of the old Plateau State. Thereafter, he became elected as the secretary of the NPN in Plateau State and later its chairman. Upon the collapse of the Second Republic in 1983, Adamu went to the University of Jos to study law as a part-time student. He, through with his studies by 1992, enrolled in the Nigerian Law School, Lagos. In 1994, the new APC chairman got appointed as a member of the National Constitutional Conference, convoked by the military administration of Sani Abacha, and a year later, in 1995, appointed the Minister of State for Works and Housing, a position he occupied until November 17, 1997. When late General Sani Abacha lifted the ban on politics, the new APC chairman joined the defunct United Nigeria Congress Party (UNCP), on whose platform he wanted to run for the governorship seat of Nasarawa State, a process truncated following the death of late Abacha in 1998. In 1999, following the restoration of democracy in Nigeria, Adamu became a founding member of the People's Democratic Party. He contested and won the governorship election of Nasarawa State and served for 8 years between May 1999 and 2007, and also served as chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum between 1999 and 2004. After his tenure, the EFCC charged him to court in 2010 alongside 19 other Nasarawa state officials with 149 counts of corruption. The anti-graft body accused him of embezzling 15 billion naira public funds. In 2007, the year he left office, the former governor won election into the Senate on PDP's platform to represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District in 2007.
APC! Louder! SVC! Next level! APC! APC! Next level! Thank you very much.
Well, that's quite a record of his achievements, don't you think?
Exactly. It's, well, as it says, it's a profile of the man, and it shows that he's been through everything, through so many things, because he started as a grassroots politician from the 70s, and he rose to become governor, senator 3 times, and now chairman of the
But does that make him the perfect chairman? That is one question.
Well, we wait to see. Nobody can answer that for now.
Yes, we'll get to find out more on daybreak as we move on or as we progress. All right, so it's time for newspaper review and more analysis. And today on the show, we have our reviewer with us in person. That's the chairperson, editorial board of Blueprint newspaper, Hajia Zainab Okino. She joins us for the newspaper review. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. All right, so we'll just take a quick breather, and when we come back, we will delve into the stories proper.
But in a situation where you find that they look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that.
Welcome back. Just as we have introduced, we have our reviewer in the studio with us, Hajia Zainab Okino, chairperson, editorial board of Blueprint newspaper, and we will start with the Daily Trust newspaper, and it's just perfect for us to actually start with the lead story on a Daily Trust. Now, on Daily Trust, we have the lead story talking about workers groan as states cut salaries amid inflation, and we have writers that talk about rationed wages put civil servants on edge, teachers, local government workers worse hit, and governments actually blame dwindling FAC allocation. Now, with everything happening in the economy, why this cut? And just share your, general opinion on this particular story.
Okay. So first of all, I must say that the economy of the world is dwindling. I mean, it's a global problem, wasn't by the Ukraine-Russia war. But the only problem we have with us is that while every other country is trying to cut costs in many ways they can, our own, we put the burden on the ordinary people who are already overburdened. So that's the difference, because we have not heard that the Senate has cut their revenue,
their wages
and allowances. Same thing with the executive. We have not heard that, and we've just had a convention by the ruling APC, and we saw the money that went down the drain, even though we cannot really quantify it. So that's the problem. It's not because it's a global issue, quite okay, but while other countries or developed countries try to maximize it such that everybody bears the brunt, or even the rich pays more taxes. In our own case, we always bring it down to the ordinary people who are already very poor.
Yeah, so talking about ordinary people, the particularly worst hit group of workers, according to this story, are teachers and local government workers. How do you see, especially the situation, this affect the situation of teachers, which is already something that we always lament, that teaching, which is supposed to be an important profession, is oftentimes seen as a lowly undertaking. What's your opinion? How does this affect generally education for our young ones?
Well, I would say there we go again. I mean, this is not new. Over the years, teaching is not even considered a lucrative profession. So you can only those who have no choice, perhaps, go into it. So the powers that be do not consider teaching as important as it is, and as we do know in some other countries, and there are some teachers are, the teachers get the highest pay, but here they are, it's oil workers, maybe some bankers, and some MDAs that are revenue generating NGOs that people take seriously. So it boils down to what I said earlier on, that we do not think some professions are important in Nigeria. For the local government, which should be the closest to the people, we should be taken seriously, where development should start from in order to even avoid rural-urban migration. So it's as good as dead. The local government system is as good as dead. In fact, the governors have killed it. So this only wasn't a bad situation.
Okay, now you talked about, only those who have no choice going into the teaching profession. Doesn't that, portray our education system in a negative light? And, and it makes, the education system, susceptible to, a lot of quacks, people who do not even know how to teach. And is that the reason, or the major reason, why the system, that's the education system, is, at the mercy of whatever?
Well, I'll say you are right, absolutely. I know there are still people that are passionate about teaching. My son, for example, all that he wants to be is to teach and nothing more, because of some of his own inclination towards purity. So he believes that teaching will give him the best opportunity to serve humanity without dipping his hands into government coffers. So there are people who are still passionate. But having said that, I can't recall what you said, what your question was exactly.
How this affects the quality of education.
Quality of education. Yeah. I mean, we don't even need any soothsayer to tell us why we are where we are. ASUU is on strike as we speak now, Yeah. It's just that the states are being controlled by governors. Otherwise, the teachers at that level would have also gone on strike. Because if you hear their tales, it's hard. They have sad tales to tell you. They can't lay it. So what it means is that you cannot get the best out of our educational system. I mean, those who are teaching today, most of them had some of the best education the government could afford then. And some of them have proved that the problem is not with our citizens. The problem is not with the Nigerian people. The problem is with the system that produces, makes the worst out of us look like the best. And you know who I'm talking about? Yeah. Politicians.
Exactly. So talking about politicians, let's go to politics story on the front page of Daily Trust. The Rivers State Governor, Nyesom Wike, yesterday announced his plan to contest for the presidency. This brings to the fore the issue of the zoning debate within his party, the PDP, because there are people now agitating for zoning of the presidency to the north. To the south, while northern politicians are advocating for open contest. How do you see the Wike's going into, announcement of throwing his hat into the ring affecting the PDP primaries?
First of all, I think it's within his legitimate right to want to be president of Nigeria. And we actually saw it coming. He's been around all this while. He's been spotting the political space. So that he finally declared is what we have been expecting or what we have been waiting for. Whether that will alter the zoning arrangement of the PDP or the country's arrangement, you know that it is not a constitutional thing. It is a convenient arrangement made by political parties. It is up to the PDP people to decide what they want to do. For me, zoning is a very convenient arrangement. And it puts everyone is at ease. You know when it gets to your turn, and then if you like, you can bring out the best. I think in one of the states in the country, I think it's Niger State. They have a very good example of zoning, and it's working perfectly for them. They call it ABC. And so every zone knows when it is their turn. So that way, there will be less rancor. But what we're now seeing at both levels, although to some extent the APC has been able to fix their own problem by ensuring that the chairman comes from the north, what that means is that automatically the presidency will go to the south. So for the PDP, I think they are still confused. Okay. They really do not know what they want. They don't know whether a southern candidate can win an election for them or a northern candidate will be a better option. So I leave that for them to decide. It's not my problem, actually.
All right, just quickly before we move on to the next paper, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, called Nigeria a sinking ship, saying if, the PDP loses out in these elections, then there's no hope for them. And we have Nyesom Wike here saying that we must take power and I'm ready to take it for the PDP. What's your thoughts on this, his comment?
Atiku's comment or Wike's comment?
Well, just before you answer, let me write on that. Because to contextualize it again, actually, in addition to what the leadership quoted, I saw, Daily Trust quoted, I saw the Punch quoting him saying, quoting Wike, saying that those who are now fighting for the party's ticket were the same people who actually wrecked the party by coming together to defeat the party in 2015. And of course, I think that means Atiku, Saraki, and Tambuwal who were in there. So how do you see all this playing out? These debates for, Tambuwal had earlier said they should think of zoning, not winning, not zoning. And with what Atiku said, that this is their last chance, and Wike is insisting that actually a southerner like him can win the seat for the PDP. Do you see Wike winning the seat for the PDP?
I do not know. It's for the electorate to determine. As for the comment made by both of them saying that this is their last chance or something like that, well, I don't know how to even put all this because I don't know how to contextualize the whole thing. All I know is that the horse trading has started, politicking has started, there will be accusations and counter-accusations. This one will say his own, this one will say his own. At the end of the day, what's important for them is to come together to take a decision on what is best for them. Just as we saw at the weekend, what APC did, whether you and I like it, is immaterial. Whether even the electorate, don't forget that, likes what APC did is immaterial because the people who determine what should be in the country is the political elite, and they are very few. So in most cases, they force down our throat what they want from us. So for the PDP, well, I won't say this is their last chance. I mean, is the nation, is the country going into extinction? No. Even if they don't get it this time around. I think what he's trying to say is the fact that a lot of people are complaining about the APC government in the last 7 years or so, and the fact that they have not been able to improve on our lot in the last 7 years. So probably he felt, like he said, the PDP will come to rescue the situation.
Okay.
But it's up to us, the people that are voting, to decide that.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to the Guardian.
But I like what the governor of Sokoto State said.
Okay.
They should think
winning
about
is more
winning
important than
zoning.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. And, you know, the lead story talks about Wike's run for presidency, which we have just actually discussed. So we're going to move on to the next big story on the Guardian, and talking about crude theft killing Nigerian oil businesses and operators, you know, lamenting. Crude theft, definitely, a lot of people are against it, and there's been a really, a huge fight on crude oil theft and then bunkering and everything. And we can actually see its effects on, the fuel scarcity around and how it has affected or, almost crippled the economy. What's your take on this, and what do you think is the perfect solution to end all these woes?
Well, I think we discussed this here once. Crude theft has become our reality, unfortunately. I think the president the other day gave a marching order to some ministers and some key government officials to move, not really physically perhaps, to the Niger Delta to curb crude theft. And I think the VP also said something about 400,000 barrels of fuel going to waste or something like that. It's all about security. In a situation where even when you post security men to those areas, they become part of the story. They get bribed so that people who are into this can have their way. Because that's what normally happens. They cancel the road. So that at the time they are stealing, or they are passing, or they are doing the bunkering, the security men will decide to turn their way from there. I mean, these are stories we hear. Sometimes you don't even want to believe it. You want to believe the fact that how can it happen? How can a government operate this way? How can we have a lawless country? Why is it that nobody takes any law seriously? And the reason is because there is no enforcement. From what they are saying now, we should be catching these thieves every day. But how many have been caught? And even those who have been caught, how many have been tried? How many have been jailed? As long as these laws are not in any way practicalized, as long as criminals are not sent to prison, you will continue to have problems like this. And don't forget that the people behind crude theft are big people, not you and I.
Wow.
So that is why, as you said, there are no deterrents, there are no punishments to deter others from doing this. But let's quickly look at another business story. The Central Bank of Nigeria last year stopped sale of Forex to BDCs, claiming that they help in speculation, which destabilize the value of the Naira. But the Association of BDCs operators are now calling on the CBN to reopen that, to lift that ban, claiming that the ban has not helped the Naira. Do you agree with them? Is it something that you think is true?
Big issue. I think the problem we have is, I don't know what is happening. Why, when we do one thing to help our very bad situation, it ends up worsening it.
Exactly.
I give you two examples before I go to your question. The other day we launched the rice pyramid. I don't think it brought down the price of rice. It never did, because I'm a woman, I buy.
Yeah.
So, and a few days ago we launched the corn or maize pyramid, and the prices are still up there. So these are examples. this is just a background to the BDC thing. I thought the CBN governor did that to shore up the economy, or the Naira, shore up the Naira. But what did we see in the end? Today, the Naira is going for
I say almost 600.
Almost 600. So why is it that things that work in other places do not work in our own place? Or is it that it is not properly thought out? So honestly, if you ask me, if the way we are doing our thing the old way that serves only a few, or serves the interests of only a few, if that's what will work for us, maybe I would say so be it. Because if the CBN did what it did to help the Naira, why is it that it is still, it's even going on, it's even, it's been, what it has had negative impact.
Yeah, so should they rethink their strategy?
I think they should rethink their strategies. I'm not really for these BDCs operating the black market as if we have, it's a different economy, different from the Nigerian economy. And honestly, if you ask me, that's not how things should be done. We all see what happens in other countries. You don't buy this thing from the street. Yeah. It is properly documented. And that's why we do not even know how much we have, the money we have in this country, because much of our money is not even...
It's in the informal sector.
It's in the informal sector. The informal sector, that's where our money is. Some people even bury their own in their various houses. So you cannot even say this is the worth of the Nigerian economy. So I want to believe that CBN, they have the best of brains to come out with the best policies for the country. Okay. And they have to do that. Okay. What BDC operators will naturally ask for what favors them. So.
Okay.
That's been it on the, that's still the show. And we move on to the next newspaper this day, which says, Buhari, our unity at convention signpost victory in 2023 polls. The president was speaking at the inauguration of the new leaders of the party in Abuja yesterday. I wonder, do you agree with the president, going by how the convention went through, that it signposts victory for the party in 2023?
I do not expect the president to say anything less than what he has already said anyway. But time will tell, I'll say, time will tell, because the most important thing is that they were able to do the convention despite all odds. And we didn't even know it was going to happen. We thought they were going to postpone it again. So they were able to do it. And the fact that the chairman was somehow imposed on the people is not a good omen. It does not signpost victory. It only shows that it's business as usual in Nigeria. We're not ready to do things differently. Okay. So they called it their unity list. I don't know. No, we didn't see any vote.
So there is no,
there is
no unity with the unity list.
No, it was a unity list in the sense that it takes into consideration our various
interests,
religion, states, ethnicity, zones, and all that. Well, you can, on the basis of that, you can call it a unity list. But the other is signpost victory is a different thing, because if you want to look at our democracy, I mean, it's supposed to be government of the people for the people, and what was that definition that everybody knows? So, if a few people sit down in one place to decide the fate of 200 million people, I don't know whether that is democratic, and I don't know whether it's a sign of victory. In the coming days, we may witness litigations. I mean, it's almost normal, it will happen. Okay. But it depends on where these litigations take the party to.
All right, let's move on to insecurity and the attack on Kaduna Airport. You know, we have on this day, still talking about the PDP, Afenifere, not Buhari, and raise the alarm. And we have House Minority Caucus demanding investigation. You know, with so much talk by the federal government about winning the war against insurgency and banditry, and then we have this attack on the airport, does this take us, you know, steps back?
I must commend our military people for doing a very good job there, especially in the north, east, and northwest. They're doing the best they can. And I also don't want to believe that we are overwhelmed or the government is overwhelmed. But that's just the truth. It's so overwhelming that when I read about that attack, I was taken aback. Nowhere is safe anymore. All these days, we all rush to the airports, you know, because we do not want to travel by road. Because the roads are not safe, and for obvious reasons, we all know banditry, kidnapping, you know. So we all now go to all these airports, even states that are close to each other. Like, let me give an example of Kebbi and Sokoto. Ordinarily, and then Katsina and Kaduna. Ordinarily, there should be no. Kaduna has an airport that over the years has served Katsina, the same way with Sokoto serving Kebbi. Why should Kebbi have their own airport? For the obvious reason that nobody wants to travel by road again, especially you and I, the elites anyway, those who have money. Others are still braving it, hoping in God, praying to God to take them to wherever they are going to. So when this attack happened, I think you should send a message to the policymakers that they are not safe. We are not safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe. And if all of us are not safe, no one is safe. So I'm not surprised that interest groups are coming out are calling on the president or calling on the government to do something about it, because it is now at the core. It is now within their doorsteps. It's no longer about the poor, it's no longer about the rural areas, it's no longer about those who can afford, except you don't want to move out of your comfort zone. Even there, anything can happen.
Yeah, this is really interesting issue, you know, especially as we move into election year. How do you think this security situation is going to affect the elections in general? Not only the campaigns, but also even the actual conduct of the election.
You know, the INEC never conducts election alone. No. I hope we know over the years that without security, they cannot conduct any election in Nigeria. So that's why we really need to get it right. But the other side of it can be bad. It means that in some places that cannot be reached or where the security situation is bad, they will just write the results. God forbid. So, but it can really be, it's something we need to work to get to the real, the situation, to arrest the situation before the election time. But that's not even the main issue. After all, how many people are voting anyway? After all, Nigerians do not even trust politicians. So we just have to get this security thing right. Otherwise, time will come when we will not even be able, even within Abuja here, you will not be able to move from one place to the other.
When you talked about, you know, voting, you know, something actually just came to my head about, you know, women who actually protested saying they will not vote if they're not given what they want.
I just wish we could. I just wish our fathers and husbands would not insist that we should go and vote. If only women will stop voting, the whole democratic whatever will
That's
just
the women's strike.
So I just pray we can take it seriously. But on a serious note, something needs to be done. And I give it to our women who have been in the forefront of fighting for our sake, for the sake of all women in the country. Something needs to be done. Even though I may not agree with the strategies that some of them are using, but we need to create more space for women. And without women, you cannot really develop. Most of the men we have in places have all disappointed us, they have all stolen our money, and then we still have confidence in women. thank God for that.
All right, so with that, we'll move on to the Punch newspaper, and we have so many juicy stories on the Punch right here. But then we'll take the one at the top, that's at the header, which talks about Nigerians spending $39.66 billion on foreign education and medical tourism, says CBN. And we'll just, focus on foreign education. We have, SANU and a whole lot of unions going on strike here in Nigeria, and then we have them spending so much money on foreign education. Like, a lot of people are appalled at the fact that most of the students who actually suffer these strikes are children of the poor and the lower class. Meanwhile, that of the elites actually travel abroad. Could this be the reason why nothing is being done on the education sector?
It might not have been the reason, but when we started neglecting, we saw it coming when we started neglecting education. And part of the reason why people send their children abroad is they finish at the right time. A 4-year course is a 4-year course. A 3-year course, sometimes it's not that people are so rich. Many are struggling. Parents are struggling to send their children abroad. They are even selling property to sell their children abroad. Not because they want to send their children abroad, but because the system seems not to be working. A 4-year course becomes for 6 years. Not that when you even come out, you will get a job anyway. But it calls for concern that our scarce resources, we're sending them abroad to develop other countries while our own suffers. So it's a problem. But I cannot blame parents who do it until we do only one thing. Let public officials, let all these ministers, governors, I think everybody tried it and he failed. Let them put their children in public schools. We will be forced to develop it. I mean, people were sending their children to Nigeria. Even in the mid-80s, when we went to school, we had foreign students among us. They were bringing their children to Nigeria to school. Suddenly, everybody is going abroad to school. Even Cotonou here. Ghana, Ghana is even okay. Niger Republic. And some of them, they do a 6-month course and come, and NYSC will allow them to serve. That's another topic anyway. I don't understand.
I mean, a bill on this particular issue was actually rejected.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately. It was rejected because their interest is at stake. These people are working for themselves alone, not for us. Their interest is at stake. After all, their children went abroad, or some are still there. So they do not want a situation where after stealing this money, they will not have the opportunity of sending their children to some of the best schools in the world. And that's why Nigeria does not rank among the best. No Nigerian university ranks among the best
universities
in the world, unfortunately.
Really sad.
That's really quite sad. And if we look at the Leadership newspaper, you see a story here saying governor seeks $15 billion investment in Dubai. And that brings us to the issue that you're talking about, how Nigeria was used to be a go-to place, and now we are going to places like Dubai. What's your take on that?
Another unfortunate situation, very sad. To go and develop Dubai that is already developed, what about us? What about our local areas? What about Abuja? Is Abuja even developed there enough?
Yeah, they're actually seeking investment from Dubai to the tune of $15 billion. So to come to Nigeria, seeking the investment to come to Nigeria. So I'm seeing it as a way that
because I've not read it anyway.
We are actually the one now going cap in hand to places like Dubai that maybe Nigeria was better off some years back.
But will you put your money where there is no guarantee? No light, no electricity is not there. There's fuel scarcity. And almost all small-scale industries have collapsed. Then you are seeking for investment to come and invest in this situation this bad situation. Well, I pray they come, but we need to put our house in order before we can call other people to come and invest in this country. We just spoke about insecurity, and it was a sad one. And with that situation, how do you invest, especially in the northern part of the country, which would have been a very friendly environment for investment? Unfortunately, this insecurity has taken the shine off whatever the North stands for.
Okay. Now, talking about, all these issues, going on in the country, there's a story here still on Leadership newspaper that says federal government committed to a better Nigeria and job creation. And this is, attributed to the Vice President Oshibajo. Is this actually the case? Is this the case?
Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap, and we've been hearing talks for the past almost 7 years now. Meanwhile, what's the percentage of, according to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, percentage of unemployed youth is 30-something. 30-something%. Unemployed generally. For the youth especially, it's about 53%. If only they have been reducing it from like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 every year, by now we would have been somewhere. But how committed can you be within the next 1 year when this government will become a lame duck? Between now and the end of their tenure, the government is already a lame duck, and the focus will be on the next election. When are we going to create these jobs? Where are these jobs? How? I just want to know how. When I hear all these stories, I don't even read them. I gloss over them. Because all I want to hear is how you are going to do it. Yes. And I have not seen the how.
Happening. Yes, the solution, and not, promises, more promises.
More promises, promises upon promises. I've tried a small-scale industry, something that can employ like 10, 15 people. It didn't work, not because I didn't try, but it didn't just work because of electricity.
Exactly.
So many issues.
Suffering.
All businesses, small issues, like even a poultry business is in trouble. Fish
farming.
It's in trouble. Yeah. Then the main farming, corn and all those people, in the far north, you know how big all those big farms that have always been there for us, to feed us, feed Nigerians. They cannot go to the farms because of insecurity, because of banditry. So how is this going to happen? So the Vice President is very good at talking,
Yeah, thank you very much, Zainab Okino, Chair Editorial Board of Blueprint Newspapers, for being with us this morning to review the papers. We hope to have you another time on this program.
Thank you so much for coming. It's quite interesting.
Thank you very much.
The show continues after the break.
Thank you very much.
But in a situation where you find that look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that